I never thought I'd see the day when collecting was in such jeopardy that Alex Trebek would be called in to host. I've always wanted to be on Jeopardy! Let's see if I know this one. What is We're All Doomed in 2025?
Correct.
The following is a world-class bullshitters exclusive.
For the last few years, it has seemed like collecting was nearing a cliff. As prices got bigger, figures and their value got smaller. For every new, exciting sculpt, there were 52 examples of reuse with bad joints and paint that looked like it was applied mid-sneeze. Gesundheit. Now that's just Hasbro, but they're not the only ones in danger this time. Mattel, McFarlane, Funko, Jada, Spin Masters, Spin Doctors, everyone's in trouble. The current socio-economic climate is heating up, and the collecting market is melting away faster than a pile of shurikopters on a cold winter night. The current collecting climate, say that 3 times fast, is just as toxic as the fumes produced by that pile of burning garbage, and it may be just enough to kill the hobby of kings once and for all. Strap in, folks, this is gonna be a bumpy ride. Straight to the bottom. We all collect for different reasons, but there's one common denominator. We love it. You may collect posters or comic books or Pokemon cards or even the dreaded Funko Pop. Ugh. But if you collect toys, you may be slowing down, even against your will. The industry is crumbling under the pressure of skyrocketing prices driven by the 2025 tariffs and greed. These trade barriers, particularly on Chinese imports, are inflating the cost of goods, forcing companies like Hasbro, Mattel, and others to raise prices and risk alienating their customer base, families and collectors who can't keep up, or just outright refuse to pay. Over the last few days, collectors have been discussing this nightmare scenario, and today I'm going to dissect this tariff-induced BS, as well as its role in the looming Christmas 2025 toy shortage, and more. By the end of today's video, you may want to give up collecting completely, but don't tap out yet. There may be hope at the end of this rainbow. But first, let's talk about everyone's favorite thing, the worst-case scenario. The first contestant on today's game show of greed is Hasbro, the juggernaut behind Transformers, Marvel, Star Wars, and more. They're leading the charge on price increases, blaming tariffs on Chinese imports that dominate 80% of toy sales. The fear was that these tariffs would slap Hasbro with an additional $300 million in costs, compounded by rising resin, packaging, and shipping expenditures. But let's not pretend that this is just about survival. Hasbro jacks up prices on a whim, regardless of tariffs or anything else out there. In 2025, a formerly $25 Marvel Legend action figure is now $30, and the deluxe editions range between $50 and $60. Hasbro's definition of deluxe is the same crappy figure in a new box, but more expensive because of the licensing fees they pay to Disney. We talked about this in a previous video, where I discussed how Hasbro has to pay hundreds of millions of dollars to Disney to license Marvel and Star Wars. The result? Collectors pay more for less, while Hasbro cries poverty, which led them to fire 1,100 people. Now this was well before any tariff discussions. Multiple price hikes reek of their usual BS, and it's not world class. Now, tariffs may be the excuse this time, but history shows that Hasbro will increase the price based on the direction of the wind. A northerly wind means that Star Wars figures are going up 32%, while a southerly wind indicates an increase in Marvel. It's all in the Farmer's Almanac. It's a tale as old as time. Over the weekend, there was some alarm to a canceled Star Wars figure set, which is important. Not because of Star Wars or anything like that, but I finally found some insight into their profit margin, which may be why we're feeling the noose tightening around our wallets. Hasbro has been canceling orders for their new Star Wars vintage action figure series, which originally retailed at $59.99 for 6 vintage-style action figures. Now, as of this recording, the tariffs were listed at 145%, which means for Hasbro to maintain their profit margin, the figure set would need to be sold for $139.
Damn!
We have the import cost here of 33%, the freight rate of 9%, the freight cost at $2.97, 0% tariff rate equals a cost of $35.97. The retail is $59.99, the profit is $24.02, and the profit margin is 40%. Now that's the current estimate. With that $60 original price, what happens when you introduce tariffs? Well, with all things considered, plus the 145% tariff of $47.85, that makes the cost $83.82, which would make the figure set retail for $107.84, a profit of $24.02, and a margin of only 22%. But here's the real kicker. They need the profit margin to be 40%, which would make the retail price $139.70. Now I'm going to be very blunt for a moment. I don't care how much these companies make in a profit margin. I'm not a stockholder, so I don't give a shit. But I'm a collector and I care about your guys' wallets as well. And $139 for 6 vintage style action figures that you can currently find for $3.99 at Ollie's is goddamn ridiculous. I am not justifying any of this garbage, no matter how much I might want a Han Solo and Stormtrooper disguise or any of the other Cantina characters. This is absolute garbage. Of course, it's silly to assume that Hasbro wants to lower their profit margins, but you have to be realistic to the fact. And that's why they've canceled the toy, because no one in their right mind is going to pay $140 for these little action figures. They don't do very much. They're supposed to look like toys from the 70s. They're supposed to fill in the gaps in your collection. And of course, some of these old dudes are going to pay for it because they never grew up. Well, as somebody who's never grown up as well, I do have a limit. I like to live in the real world, or at least I like to claim I do. Beyond all of these cancellations, there was talk last week that Hasbro was playing around with the idea of pre-order price lock-ins, meaning that if you pre-order, you'll get a cheaper rate. If pre-ordering is going to lock in a lower price, that's going to be interesting to say the least. I've never seen this before with basic retail merchandise. I've seen it for boutique products and limited exclusives, but never for stuff from Target. Either Hasbro is high, or this is a brilliant strategy to rush people to pre-order using FOMO, or in this case, fearing upcoming price adjustments, or FUPA. Hasbro's FUPA is quite large and nasty these days, as they keep charging more for less, and fans aren't happy. Hasbro, do some work and keep your FUPA to yourself. There are children present. Speaking of FUPAs, Barbie's on the upswing too. Mattel, her parent company, isn't spared the tariff sting. Hot Wheels set that once cost $15 now approaches $25, and the Barbie signature dolls hover around $50 or more. Mattel's leaning into sustainable materials like sugarcane-based plastics, which sound delicious, but these eco-friendly moves conveniently justify premium prices. Unless you're one of those weird dudes desperate to eat Barbie, this isn't helping collecting. It's trying to fix a problem that doesn't exist. Also, Mattel is just more than Hot Wheels and Barbie. Their licensed properties like WWE and Disney add to the cost, with tariffs inflating prices of every Buzz Lightyear, John Cena, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and The Rock. Mattel is not as brazen as Hasbro, but their price hikes still pass the tariff burden on to customers. When a company is looking at a $300 million cost increase, it makes sense that they need to find a way to make these things more profitable and palatable for everyone involved. It's silly to assume that they'll eat the cost, but it's equally silly to assume that customers will eat the costs too. We need to eat, and food is pricey enough. Other companies like Super 7 and McFarlane have announced their price increases, with McFarlane charging $32.50 for a Superman in the upcoming film. With prices like these, collectors might just go on to something else based on principle. Smaller companies like Spin Masters, known for Paw Patrol and Hatchimals, are also reeling from the tariffs. With raw material shortages and labor already straining overseas factories, Spin Masters is just raising their prices to stay afloat. Unlike Hasbro's margin chasing, Spin Masters' price hike feels like a survival tactic in a market where tariffs hit smaller players the hardest. Still, the outcome is identical. Consumers pay more, collectors pay more, and the industry inches closer to the digital cliff. Now here's where it gets really scary. Things are about to get worse. Yeah, they suck now.
But wait! There's more! Hang on to your seat, baby! Cause this one's a screamer!
Things are about to get so bad, in fact, that they won't be able to recover. Christmas 2025 is poised to be a retail nightmare, with tariffs driving a toy shortage that could leave shelves barren, no matter the current news. This nightmare scenario is not good for anyone. With less toys to sell, retailers will use that same place to sell other merchandise, and once toys drop in price, that retail space won't be returned to the toys. Whatever took their spot, if more profitable, will continue to keep that space. All toy companies are tethered to the same supply chain issues. Shipping delays, because container ships aren't known for their speed, exacerbate this issue as well, leaving retailers understocked. Come December, parents will be dueling over the last Spider-Man, if grown-ass men won't be there first to beat them to the punch. Christmas is the time of year when people throw caution to the wind and spend. So even if these overpriced toys make it to America, some will still sell, but what doesn't will sit there after the spending season is over, and they will rot on shelves forever and ever. These tariff-driven shortages are a new twist, but toy shortages do have historical precedent. So let's jump into the DeLorean, gun it to 88, and go back in time to see 3 examples of this played out in this industry. The year is 1996. The toy is Tickle Me Elmo, and it exploded in popularity after a TV boost from Rosie O'Donnell. Factories in Asia couldn't scale production, and retailers underestimated demand, leading to empty shelves. While not tariff-driven, the supply chain bottlenecked, and it mirrors 2025's tariff-induced production cuts. The resolution? Tyco increased production in 1997, flooding stores by spring. Retailers offered rain checks, and some parents paid black market prices. Elmo's popularity endured, but Tyco's reputation took a hit for misjudging demand. The shortage fueled hot toy mania, a tactic that persists. Sesame Street's Toyland recovered, but Tyco never recaptured that peak. Let's jump forward a few years to the product, the Nintendo Wii. The Wii's motion sensing appeal outstripped Nintendo's production, hampered by component shortages, something we'll cover again in a moment. Motion sensors and conservative forecasting. Retailers prioritized bundles, leaving standalone consoles scarce. The resolution? Nintendo ramped up production, making Wiis widely available. Retailers used lotteries and waitlists, though scalpers thrived. And I always say, those people are the worst. The Wii sold over 100 million units, with its shortage enhancing its allure. Nintendo tightened supply chain forecasting, and the brand fully recovered. The shortage showed how scarcity can boost demand, unlike tariff-driven price barrier. Let's jump to the future one more time to the year 2017. Wowie's fingerlings, robotic monkeys, went viral, overwhelming Chinese factories. Limited capacity and raw material shortages akin to tariff-driven spikes prevented restocks. Retailers sold out instantly. The resolution? Wowie boosted production in 2018, and fingerlings were plentiful by summer. Purchase limits curbed scalping, but secondary markets saw $15 toys hit $100. Fingerlings faded post-shortage, unable to sustain hype. Wowie's brand suffered, and the toy's popularity never recovered. The shortages highlighted the risk of supply chain fragility, a warning for 2025. The possible 2025 shortage rooted in tariff-driven price hikes will echo these cases, with retailers and manufacturers cutting orders to manage costs. Resolution may come in 2026 if tariffs ease or supply chains diversify, but the damage will linger. Hasbro's eroded trust could drive collectors away, and families may pivot to digital platforms like Roblox, which dodge tariff woes. Unlike the Wii's recovery, many toys lack unique appeal, and the shortage could hasten the industry's decline, cementing digital play as the future. However, things keep getting worse, which is why you're watching. In 2025, video game consoles are becoming painfully expensive too, mirroring the toy industry's tariff-driven price spiral. We're 5 years into this console generation. Normally, consoles decrease in price, but now they're more expensive than ever. Xbox has announced that it will be increasing prices of its hardware in some upcoming first-party games. The company confirmed that it would be making the Xbox Series X consoles and accessories more expensive in the US, Canada, the UK, and mainland Europe due to market conditions and rising costs of development. Going forward, an Xbox Series X will retail for $599, while the Series S will cost $379, up from $499 and $299 respectively. Meanwhile, the most expensive offering, the Xbox Series X 2TB Galaxy Special Edition, will retail for $729. Jesus, my first car was close to that price, and it took me a lot further than an Xbox can. In a statement, Microsoft said, "We understand these changes are challenging, and they were made with careful consideration given market conditions and the rising cost of development." Microsoft also said, "We will adjust pricing on some of the new first-party games starting this holiday season to $80. This update will apply to physical and digital versions as well. That said, the same games and expansions will continue to be offered at a variety of price points." Current-gen consoles rely on Chinese-made components, semiconductors, circuit boards, and plastic casings. The 145% tariff on these imports adds $50 to $100 per $500 console. To protect those also-sacred margins, they're hiking up the prices. Consoles need resins for shells and rare earth metals for processors. Price spikes for these materials, worsened by tariffs on Chinese imports, inflate production costs. Shifting production to the US sounds appealing until you see the math. Digital products built on code and servers sidestep these costs, making them likely winners as tariffs render physical goods a luxury, but the machines to use said digital goods are going up as well, with tariffs and basic greed pricing physical toys out of reach and driving a possible Christmas 2025 shortage that could break consumer trust. Imagine a Christmas without toys. That's just not Christmas to most people. Hasbro's opportunistic hikes, Mattel's premium pivot, and Spin Master's survival moves are all hurting us, pushing families and collectors to digital alternatives, which are getting pricier by the minute. Historical shortages show recovery is possible but fleeting, and US manufacturing is a fantasy that can't compete. The golden age of collecting, when a kid could snag Luke Skywalker for the price of lunch money and a collector could build a shelf full of heroes without bankruptcy, is officially over. Toys had been getting pricier for years, but this string of events could leave a forever-lasting impact, and forever is a long time, obviously. We do have an update to this as of May 12, 2025. US and China have reached a deal that tariffs will be lowered for 90 days. US tariffs on China will fall to 30% from 145%. China will reduce its tariffs on the US to 10% from 125%. Here's the funny part. No matter how low these tariffs go, even if they go away completely, these increases in prices are staying. They're not going to make the Xbox cheaper all of a sudden. They're not going to lower the price of action figures. All they're going to do is keep the prices stagnant for this 90-day window, and they're going to use that as an excuse to make more money. So I hope collectors actually pay attention to this, because if there's no reason to charge this much, yet Hasbro's candy ass is doing that, it really reflects poorly on them. Do you think that Hasbro will actually lower the prices? Do you think that Mattel and these other companies will? No, they want to make as much as possible. So if they can report that with these tariffs lowered and they can still make, a 75% profit margin, don't you think they're going to do that? Of course they are. You'd be silly to think not. And what about these online retailers that preemptively jacked up prices? Do you think Big Bad Toy Store is going to actually reassess their tariff calculator? Do you think Entertainment Earth is going to do the same? No, they're not. No one that's in business is going to make a change. They're just going to continue to raise prices. Oh, that's the market. That's the standard. Well, make sure you follow us here on the channel, because I'll keep you abreast of the situation. You'll know what the standard is, you'll know when things are going away, and you'll know what you should and shouldn't pay. So if you're out in the store and you see that new Fei Long is now $29.99, don't buy it. It'll go down in price because Jada Toys can't afford to do that to collectors. But Hasbro can, and they will, because of the almighty Star Wars and Marvel. I'm just done completely. So folks, what do you think of this situation? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you for watching today. We've had a lot of new subscribers, we had new patrons, and things are on the up for WCBS. Join me on Saturday for a new trip to Ollie's, and if you want something in your hand that's not a digital product, we'll go to WokeBustersComic.com right now. The book is done, it's available, and it can be shipped out to you. We use Shopify so all your information is safe and secure, and we ship out within a few hours of an order. So get my new graphic novel that's been called, again, Laugh Out Loud Funny, and received a lot of positive comments from everyone who's read the book. But until next time, folks, be smart, be safe, be cool, but always be excellent to each other.